Hello and welcome to coverage here of the World Magic Cup M14 Team Sealed. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Brian David Marshall.
Hey.
And right away, Yuuya Watanabe on the left-hand side, the national champion from Japan. You mentioned it earlier, BDM, Japan, one of the formidable countries in terms of Magic accomplishments.
Yeah, just absolutely Goliath. And you know, just to present to you, like, what this matchup like, Stephen Hatto is, you know, playing here, and you see he's got 6 lifetime pro points.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, you know, what we see sometimes at the World Magic Cup, because we get so many different countries here, Luxembourg being, well, you know, one of those countries. Now let's take a look at our board state here. We're taking a look at Steven's hand here. I believe it looks like he's playing green-white.
Just to contrast for a second, Yuuya Watanabe, $192,000, 328 more pro points than Stephen Hatto.
Yeah, Yuuya, he's a powerhouse of the game, no doubt about that.
He's quite good. So we see, yeah, he's Mana Weft Sliver and
there we go.
Rootwalla.
Wow, Banisher Priest against the green-white deck, or not Banisher Priest, excuse me. Lifebane Zombie against the green-white deck. Not a bad start for Yuuya Watanabe.
And it looks like Lifebane Priest took out, I mean, Lifebane Zombie took out the Banisher Priest that was
okay.
in Hatto's hand.
So that's awesome. Rootwalla, though, and a Mana Weft Sliver for Steve Hatto means that he probably has quite a few options this turn. We get a look at his hand. Predatory Sliver, Trollhide. Now, he might want to... It depends on what he wants to do. He can try to wait a turn on the Trollhide. There's an interesting risk-reward that he has to try to choose. So if he plays it here, he knows he can resolve it. There we go. And now he can leave the mana up for regeneration. He's not going to want to pump his Rootwalla here as he's playing against his opponent playing black mana. He knows that Doomblade, Liturgy of Blood, these type of cards are going to be in his deck, and he's going to want to have access to that mana. Now that he's, thanks to the Mana Weft Sliver, though, he's able to do this a turn sooner than you normally can. Normally you need the full 5 mana there.
17.
All right, Lifebane Zombie enters the red zone, and Corpse Hauler follows up for Yuuya Watanabe. So Steve's going to untap here with a Rootwalla with Trollhide on it, which is really the most important creature on the board here, and it's going to be the focus of the game in the early stages here.
Right. So we haven't gotten Yuuya's hand updated yet, but you can see that we can see that he's playing blue.
Yeah, I think I saw an Archaeomancer in there somewhere.
So, you know, there may be an opportunity for him to time ab or do something similar to that.
Yeah.
Rootwalla.
Yeah, blue has a lot of options to deal with this at this point, where black actually doesn't. Now that, as long as Steve leaves regeneration mana up, but blue has time ab. They've got disperse. They've got claustrophobia. A lot of ways to 2-for-1, right. or sometimes just 1-for-1.
We see a couple of 2-drop slivers in Hatto's hand. Yep, and he's going to be really careful about making sure he leaves actual land mana.
Yeah, now this is a sweet board.
The Rootwalla.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, he plays a Predatory Sliver as well. No blue mana here, no land at all for Yuuya. He's got a Nightmare in his hand, Liturgy of Blood, Corrupt, another Liturgy of Blood, Archaeomancer.
Yeah.
I think he's got a Warden of Evos Isle and one other card I couldn't quite see, but no mana for any of them.
He's got all the tools, but he locked the key in the toolbox.
Yeah, that's right. And right now, Steve Hatto has a really nice board state here. He's got a 3-3, a 2-2, another 2-2, and a 4-4 that can not only get bigger, also has regeneration. Attack with everybody.
Right, there we go. Now we have a look at what cards are clogging up Yuuya Watanabe's hand.
Jeez. Now that Swamp came out of his hand, but he does have Claustrophobia, Warden, Archaeomancer, Nightmare, Liturgy, Corrupt. So if this game can just go a little bit longer here for Yuuya, he's going to be in a fine position, but he is way behind right now.
He did remove 2 creatures there, but he is going to need, and there's part 1.
He draws an island for the turn. Unfortunately, Claustrophobia that he really needs to lock down the Rootwalla costs double blue.
We assume he's just gonna chump the root walla here. Yeah, he can't do it fast enough.
Yeah.
He was
he
blocking
has to.
before
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, like he has to do it.
Oh
so.
yeah. Right, I almost forgot that you could pump the root
Yeah,
walla.
root walla even gets bigger.
Here it is. Is this his island or a swap for that? Well, no, island is what he really needs.
Divination.
He needs like island disperse here.
He's doing it. And he does draw the second island, but he doesn't have anything he can play, and the game's over. Steve Hatto takes game 1 versus Yuuya Watanabe.
He did not have, he has disperse in his sideboard, interestingly, but he does not have disperse main deck that he could have drawn there. So
well.
I don't know that there was anything he could have drawn that would have gotten him out of that.
He needed a 2-drop.
Yeah, he needed a Doomblade, which he...
Well, just a creature to block.
Yeah. Not a lot of 2-drops for him.
Yeah. Dak Faden is the greatest thief in the multiverse. Follow his adventures in the Magic the Gathering comic produced by IDW. A special promo card unique to the IDW comic series comes in each issue. Find out more about these comics at wizards.com/magic merchandise. So, looks like Yuuya's taking out, looks like he's shifting over to a more blue build. He's putting in, there's a disperse. He's going to put in 1 for sure.
Yep.
After seeing the troll hide, he knows he's going to need that. All right, we're going to be moving over to the middle table. Who do we have on that table, BDM?
The middle table, we have Junya Takahashi and Yoan Mendez. And give you a little information about those guys.
I'm going to take a look at Johan's deck here and see what he ended up with. Well, this is a pretty straightforward build. No, it's not. It's kind of an interesting one, but it is straightforward. So he's playing mono black. Blood Barons, Death Gaze, Cockatrice, Double Doomblade, 9 zombies, that kind of stuff. Ooh, 4 Quag Sickness in mono black.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that seems pretty decent.
And so he's going to be up
No
against... no corrupt. He's going to be up against Junya Takahashi, who is black-red. And we see that he's playing Volcanic Geyser, Scourge of Valkus, 3 Marauding Maulhorns, Goblin Shortcutter, not playing the Sacrifice deck, but rather playing just a black-red aggro deck.
Okay.
So Junya Takahashi. We're actually in progress here.
Yep.
Junya Takahashi, lifetime 26 pro points. He's 25 years old. He's got 1 Grand Prix top 8. Wins about 60% of his matches on the Grand Prix circuit. So
that's very solid.
Yeah, very very solid. Take a look at his lifetime record.
You down to 10?
Yes.
Looks like he's played in quite a few pro tours.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you see what he just played, BDM? Scourge of Valkus, and he's got a dragon egg on the battlefield, and that counts as a dragon, so he's actually going to get to do 2 damage to this Nightwing Shade and kill it right now.
And here you look at what Yoan Mendez, 0 pro points. Luxembourg, not a nation that you associate with
high-level magic.
High-level magic,
sure.
Yeah. It's one of the great things about the World Magic Cup. These guys get to try their hand out on the biggest stage.
That's right. An Undead Minotaur, not an exciting draw at this late stage of the game here for Johan.
Certainly not against those dragons. And we see that still some gas in Takahashi's hand. He's got a Chandra's Phoenix. He's got a Chandra's Outrage. And that's enough. Mendez may not have a ton of Pro Tour experience, but he knows enough to scoop there.
Yeah. One card that's interesting
Does
out
not
of
use
Mendez.
the pro double spatulate move where
No,
you
he
take a
doesn't.
card on each side. And,
He's got a millstone in the main deck.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it looks like he feels like he can keep the board sufficiently wiped away that he can actually use the millstone as a potential win condition here in his mono black deck.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too. I'd have to really see the deck laid out. I've got the deck list in front of me, but it's kind of hard to. I mean, he's got a bunch of creatures, 9 zombies.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like this is a deck that's just always going to be able to...
I mean, he's running 2 Minotaur Abominations, quite a few pretty defensive cards here. All right, why don't we...
It sounds like that was a nice little intermission, and we're just in time to look at Yuuya Watanabe versus Steve Hatto again, as they are getting ready for game 2.
You got to favor Yuuya here. If he had drawn lands in that game, he had ways to deal with all of the threats and plenty of ways to win as well, and he just wasn't able to hit any blue mana quite enough in time there. But especially post-board, we saw him bring in a Disperse, move over a little bit more heavy towards the island side of things. Both players have kept here, though. Doesn't look like a particularly thrilling hand here for Steve Hatto, though he does have a couple of Root Wallas and a 2-drop, so...
And he's got that Sentinel Sliver.
Yeah. Okay, there's an Essence Scatter here. We'll see if Steve wants to play around Essence Scatter. That is an interesting question. He has 2 Root Wallas in hand. It's a little suspicious, though, because Yuuya is representing both Essence Scatter and Cancel here, and he instantly Essence Scatters the first Root Walla. All right, there's a Time Ebb for Yuuya as well, and a Death Gaze Cockatrice is going to hit the table. Passes the turn back.
Not willing to trade there. Figures there are better things in the future coming out of Hatto's deck, such as that Root Walla.
There you go. Death Gaze Cockatrice really good versus Root Walla here.
There's your Messenger Drake.
Oh, I love that guy. I like Yuuya's position quite a bit here. Let's see what Steve can do to help minimize that a bit. He's got 3 planes of forest, maybe 2 planes in a forest to go along with Celestial Flare.
Sure, we can take a look at what he's got in his hand here.
Sure.
Forest, plains, Celestial Flare.
All right.
Yep. And I think we're going to see that flare. Sacrifice a blocking creature. Look like we have some sort of fatty sliver looming in the wings.
17 to 16.
All right, so Messenger Drake is going to attack in for 3. What's Yuuya's follow-up play here? Time Ebb your Root Walla. All right, so that's going to go back on top of the library, and it looks like a Seacoast Drake is going to follow up for Yuuya Watanabe here. Draws the Root Walla that was put there by Time Ebb. Yuuya snaps off a block there.
It's like, you're not fooling me.
No. And we see Steve trying to decide which one of his spells to play. It looks like he's just going to follow up with the Root Walla again.
And Watanabe is down to Island and Swamp.
14.
Yeah. We see that he's holding the 7-mana Ground Shaker Sliver.
Yeah, that's what he's got. The 5/5 with Trample. And he's drawn a Predatory Sliver here, too. He decides to go with the Predatory Sliver.
Yeah.
That's very aggressive. I mean, it does enable an attack here. Yuuya says that guy has Vigilance.
Still has Vigilance.
And he's going to also free up his mana to pump up that Root Walla, though. Yuuya...
Get in for 7
7 damage, dropped Yuuya down to 9, and pass the turn back. All right, here's a divination for Yuuya Watanabe. Get a look at Yuuya at only age 24.
Yeah.
One of the
Not
dominant.
eligible for the Hall of Fame for 3 more years.
No. How many more top 8s is he going to have before then? You know. All right, Lifebane Zombie. Wow. Takes the ground shaker sliver. Good timing on that.
Again, good card.
Steve compliments his card choice.
Two cards left.
Yuuya has 2 cards left. And he passes the turn back. No attacks this time.
Yeah, when he knows there's nothing in Hatto's hand, he's
Yep.
sort of in control here.
That's right. This is a situation where Yuuya's deck,
Holding a win condition in Phantom Warrior.
Yeah, he does. And, you know, this is a situation where Yuuya is very happy to have everything just stay the same on board for a while because he's the one that has the card draw spells and the ways to get ahead on cards.
Perfectly happy to trade that Lifebane Zombie to get a 2-for-1 out of it because he's already gotten 1.
Sure. So the 3/3 Vigilance Sliver is attacking here. And Yuuya's trying to decide. And
He's like, yeah, I'll 2-for-1 your slivers.
Sure. Again, the longer the game goes, the happier Yuuya gets here. Especially now that he's going to add some actual pressure to the board here.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth noting that the Lifebane Zombie has Intimidate, right? That was also pressure.
That's true.
But you just, I mean, he knows he's been around long enough. He doesn't want to let slivers stick around.
No.
They get out of hand. They get double strike. They get all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
So far, he's only seen green and white mana.
But he has seen mana weft sliver, so he doesn't know that there's not a flying sliver.
No. Well, bone-side sliver's white.
Yeah.
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 Clear text.
All right, Steve looks like he's going to offer the trade for the Messenger Drake here. Not an amazing trade, as Yuuya's going to also get to draw a card. I think Yuuya's pretty happy to have that one.
Yeah, I mean that's why he was letting it sit there.
Yeah.
But that is a Seraph of the Sword.
Ah, yes. And Yuuya right away draws himself a Sengir Vampire as if on cue. Seraph is really nice.
Yeah, very similar to Dawn Elemental. But it can keep that any of those flyers at bay.
Yeah, but you know, I think that Steve was trying to be the aggressor for the duration of this game, and he's certainly not that at the moment. Is that a Celestial Flare? No.
No, that looks like a Banisher Priest.
Banisher Priest. Okay, good timing on that. This will allow him to keep the attacks going here. You got to figure Yuuya has a lot of ways to get rid of that Banisher Priest, but he doesn't have any in his hand.
No. But he is Yuuya is at a life disadvantage, 9-12. So this race is, even if they're both swinging back 3 apiece, favors Hatto.
Absolutely. Another land off the top for Yuuya.
All the lands he wanted in game 1.
Yeah, he's drawn tons of lands here, and he just needs to find some action.
So on the back table, Kusakabe has taken a 1-0 lead over Archer Quiros. Probably Keiros is my guess.
Clear text.
I'll believe you if you tell me that.
Here comes the Seraph. Okay. He's like, not dead yet. No blocks.
Yep. Takes 3, goes to 3. And what is that, a mana weft sliver for Steve?
Mana weft sliver.
All right. So what is the draw here? Is that a Nephalia Sea Kite I see for Yuuya Watanabe? Yeah, it is. That's not the ideal draw, but it's going to keep him alive at least another turn. He still has the Seacoast Drake that he can use to block here as well.
Right. He's really wants to draw one of his Liturgy of Bloods here.
If Steve decides to move all in and attack with all 3 of his creatures, then Yuuya can kind of get him. He can chump block the Seraph with his Drake, and he can eat Predatory Sliver and Manawef sliver with his other two creatures if Steve were to take that risky line. Steve Hatto deep in the tank here for Luxembourg.
What do you think he's thinking about here?
I'm just thinking he's deciding if he wants to attack with all of his creatures. I mean, it's a risky, and he would get in one extra damage even if it worked, and he would trade off one of his better slivers. So it's not really a great attack.
Right. Reads the Seraph of the Sword. We'll let you read the Seraph of the Sword.
Yep.
So no combat damage gets dealt.
Yuuya does play out.
Yeah, just wants to keep his mana open.
Nephalia Seekite, yep. Now what did he draw here? He drew a Claustrophobia, I think.
Ah.
Yes, he did. Claustrophobia is going to lock down Seraph of the Sword, and we have parity here. Trollhide could change that. Wow. Yuuya still has tons of ways, tons of outs, as we say, left in his deck to deal with this, but he's going to be under a ton of pressure very quickly here.
Well, actually, I mean, with the regeneration of Trollhide, he has fewer.
Yeah. That's true.
Puts Trollhide on his Banisher Priest.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I really don't want you getting that Singular Vampire back.
Clear attacks?
There we take a look at Trollhide.
All right. Looks like Yuuya says, I will block such that I don't die.
Dying would be bad.
Drops Yuuya down to 1. Predatory Sliver was pumping Manawef Sliver there. And Yuuya needs a big draw step here. He draws Corrupt. Is that enough? Is that even going to keep him alive for a turn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It would put him back up to 7. Yeah, that'll buy him a turn. He's also got Nephalia Seekite for blocks still as well. Unfortunately for him, Steve Hatto has plenty of mana available, so he's not going to be able to catch him without regeneration mana unless Steve taps out for something like Groundshaker Sliver or something like that on a future turn. Steve has really no incentive to do that at the moment, so Yuuya must use Corrupt here.
Well, he might also
It's
just be
just
thinking
what does he
about,
want to target?
So he takes 5 next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So he can go to
He's
6.
doing the combat math, because if he can take
Wait, I'm
Steve
sorry, he can
Hatto
go-
down to 4 here.
Yeah. He's
And-
going to attack.
Yeah, if he draws anything that interacts with that Banisher Priest, he can win. Oh man. All right, so here goes Yuuya, attack you.
Corrupt you.
Corrupt, target you.
6.
Gain 6, go back up to 7.
Right. Which means he'll have 2 life to
Back
play
on
with
7.
next turn.
One card in hand. Great. My turn?
And he says go. Steve Hatto sitting on 4 life now thanks to the Corrupt. Yuuya at 7. Let's see what Steve draws here.
There's a lot of cards in Hatto's deck as well.
Yep.
Forest.
And it's 2 forests in hand. This is stage 1 for Yuuya Watanabe to try to equalize the match here.
So I can swing back, attack you for 2, attack you down to 2,
Yep.
which is what he does.
So here's 5 damage to Yuuya, drop you to 2. Now, if Yuuya has any way to interact with Banisher Priest
a
at all,
creature, just
yes,
a creature
anything.
chump block.
Yeah. And if Steve doesn't draw any way to make that other sliver bigger, is it a corpse hauler? Oh, wow, what a great draw for Yuuya. It is a creature, and it's even going to set up a future turn if he needs it, though that Nephalia Seekite should be able to finish off Steve, barring any great draw steps here from Steve Hatto.
It looks like Yuuya's considering what he could just get right now. Is there anything better?
Yeah, he could just instantly upgrade
Can
it.
he cash it in and play Messenger Drake? Is that better? Is there a creature with an ability in his graveyard?
Sure. You know, the other thing he can consider, of course, is getting a chump block in with the Corpse Hauler, then getting something back that can make it go longer. Let's see what he wants to do here.
And that's what he's just cashing it in.
Yeah. He could be getting Messenger Drake. That way, if it were to die somehow, then he could maybe catch another sea kite and cast it at instant speed. You know, he's starting to go through the different iterations here. I'm not sure what else he has in his graveyard exactly, which is obviously a big question here.
He's got a Death Gaze Cockatrice.
Okay. You know, playing against green-white, the toughness of your creature shouldn't really matter here. If he draws a pacifism, it's not going to matter what size it is.
Yeah, and most of the ways that Hatto has to interact with creatures are Celestial Flares. He has 3 of them.
Okay.
But you still have to block for
Yes,
that Celestial Flare
that
to
would
matter.
not do it here.
So we're not talking about trample.
And what is he drawn? He's got, is that a Hunt the Week?
That is a Hunt the Week.
Wow, Steve Hatto draws Hunt the Week here. He's thinking about what he wants to do.
Oh, he also has 3 of those, so.
Yeah.
This one. Fight.
Hunt the Week, fight your corpse. Hauler. And that's it. Steve Hatto defeats Yuuya in a really tight game, too.
Shows him the forest.
And defeats him 2-0. So Luxembourg over Japan in that.
And then look,
particular
and then
match.
Yuuya shows him the double scoop, 2 cards.
The way
Scoop them
they do
towards
it on the Pro
center.
Tour.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank Gaming Etc. for being an official card retailer here at Worlds Week. Use a promo code WORLDCUP when ordering on GamingEtc.com to earn 10% off all singles and accessories. For more information, visit GamingEtc.com.
So it sounds like we're going to go to the back table right now. Get a look at Kyohei Kusakabe playing against Arthur Kiraz.
Man, that was a sweet game.
That was a sweet game, back and forth. Yeah, he had 3 Hunt the Weeks and 3 Celestial Flares. So if he drawn a Celestial Flare there, probably can't win.
Celestial Flare does not get it done, I don't think, no. At least not that
Although
turn.
I guess he can get the creature that's attacking him for the win, though. So then you get a look at Kusakabe on the back, facing you, and Keira's with his back to us.
Kusakabe's playing a white-green deck here, straight white-green.
Kusakabe has like 3 professional matches in his career. He's played in 3 Grand Prix matches. He went 0-3. Said, I'm going to go play inside events.
Hey, we've all had that happen.
Has not been to the Pro Tour yet. This is really his big debut. You know, he won a Magic World Cup qualifier, and now he gets to study at the knee of Yuuya Watanabe.
Really one of the best in the world. And you see the watchful eye of Yuuya over his shoulder. Now, what we're going to see here is probably a lot of instruction from Yuuya during the course of this game.
Yeah, Magic Kaibatsu, Yuuya Watanabe.
All right, Artur.
Oh, is that an Ogre Battle Driver?
I believe it is.
There you're going to look at Kiraz. Kiraz has a little bit more. He's been to some Grand Prix. He's 18 wins, 14 losses, 6 draws.
Wow, nice hand here for Kusakabe. He's got Rootwalla. I saw that he had a Pacifism, I believe, and double enlarge. But not enough mana to cast them, is that right?
Yeah. We're getting the hands ready.
Yep, he's got super solid 2-drops on the battlefield already, though, with Deadly Recluse and a Scavenging Ooze.
All right, it says Thos up there, but I assure you this is Kiros' hand with Pitchburn Double, Shock, and Chandra's Outrage. And we'll go look at Kusakabe with his Pacifism, Vastwood Hydrant, Rootwalla, Giant Growth, Enlarge.
Giant Growth is going to be great here. One potential play for Kiros is he could try to shock one of these creatures, and the Giant Growth is going to just negate that. And that's a big one here because both creatures for Kusakabe are great. Deadly Recluse acting as a full stop sign here.
What's really nice, though, is every spell he plays on his turn turns into a 3/1 haste creature between the interaction of Young Pyromancer and
insane.
Ogre Battle Driver. like kill your guy, get a
Wow.
3-1 haste, attack for a lot.
Yeah, he also has like Pitchburn Devils, play it as a 5-3 attack you.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of great options here, but the Deadly Recluse really being the most important card for Kusakabe right now is it's holding off these high-powered bombs. You see the Luxembourg team huddled around trying to decide what line they want to take. There's a land there for Artur Quiros. And I think he's actually going to lead things off with a shock. That's going to mean he does not get to play Pitchburn Devils here, though. Okay. Remember, he's only got 2 red sources here, so it's kind of limiting what it is he's able to do.
I kind of like the Pitchburn Devils and just.
I do too.
I kind of like it. Just send the Pitchburn Devils in, but
Yeah.
he wants to get rid of this.
Scavenging Ooze, though there's a trigger on the stack here for Pyromancer, and as we mentioned earlier.
Did he forget his Pyromancer trigger?
I don't know.
Okay.
They were just.
He pointed. Yeah.
Yep. So he was just getting the elemental token ready from one of the judges. So 2 damage is what the Scavenging Ooze has taken, but now it's a 5/5.
That's fine. It's taken 2 damage.
And I don't think that Archer has anything else to do this turn now.
They attack with that 3-1.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Are you going to eat a creature?
Yeah, obviously.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Sure. But now.
Wow. So Deadly Recluse jumps in front of the token?
Well, I guess he wants to get his turn his Scavenging Ooze on.
Sure. I mean, it just feels like that Deadly Recluse is keeping the Ogre Battle Driver at bay here.
This reminded me. He's like, it doesn't really do anything, but you know, get rid of that shock. Who wants to risk that? They see a plummet.
Tough spot here for Kusakabe, though. He's just crimped on mana. He is able to cast a spell this turn, which is certainly nice for him, as his other ones really weren't doing anything until he drew that Root Wall.
So Kusakabe's up a game.
Okay.
And but the teams are tied 1 match apiece. So Kiros, if he wins this, has to win another to take this down for Luxembourg.
Wow. He's looking to be in a good position right now. Chandra's Outrage in hand, young Pyromancer to go along with the Battle Driver. I mean, this is like standard level interactions here.
I mean, he does it. Shows me the trigger. Says okay. Ogre Battle Driver's getting in. It's a 3/3 to your 2/2 Root Walla that you can't pump.
Yeah, take 6, Kusakabe.
So 17 and 6.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to some players about, you know, Ogre Battle Driver, and whether or not that's going to be a standard player once Hellrider leaves.
You do get a big tempo advantage going forward. Once that thing's on the board, every time they tap mana, it's scary.
Yeah. And you see with young Pyromancer, young Pyromancer is going to be in standard.
Yeah, people have been talking about that since it was first premiered, and I played against it in limited, and it's deceptive how good it is. It's like, yeah, I can have a couple of counters, a couple of tokens, whatever.
From this point on, every creature or spell Quira's draws is just
like
disgusting.
extra value. Yeah,
it's
just rude. Yeah. All right, Pacifier 3/3, not the ideal target for a pacifism, as on its own it's just a 3/3, and it's still going to sit there like an enchantment now. But all right, let's take a look at what Artur has drawn here. Is it a Sea Kite? Not 100% sure what it is. It's an Athalia Sea Kite. That's interesting. It has flash. Normally you play it on your opponent's turn, but if it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn, you might just want to slam it during your main phase here.
And you saw Plummet in hand for Kusakabe, and that's, probably he saw some flyers in the early games.
Yep.
But it's going to be Pitchburn Devils right now. It's a 5/3, like you said, 5/3 haste.
He's just going to attack with that. Root Walla can block, pump, and then...
He's thinking about the 2-stage attack. Yeah. He's like, okay, he's coming too.
Yeah. He says, look, if you want to take 5 here,
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with
feel
that.
free to eat a token.
Right, that was a free token. That token's already done a bunch of done its work.
It got in for 3 already. All right, looks like we are going to trade here as Root Walla gets pumped up. There's going to be 3 damage to throw around. It's going to get directed right back at the Root Walla, though, to take it off.
Took 4, you go to 7.
Well, Ogre Battle Driver is Ogre Battle Driver is pacified. It is still doing work.
All right, so the Pitchburn Devils went to the face there.
Yeah.
He pointed at it. It didn't make sense, but it did, in fact, go to the face. So he ended up taking 4 damage, 1 from the token, and dropped Kusakabe down to 7. So Artur off the back of this, his uncommon and rare combo here has really put a ton of pressure down. Now, Nephalia Sea Kite, you mentioned it before, BDM. There is potentially...
There is not a Pitchburn Devils in his hand any longer. It's a land and a...
No, but Kusakabe does have a plummet at the ready here,
Yeah.
so he would just be attacking for 3 damage here. But, man, 3 damage when you're at 7's a lot.
And his Elvish Mystic's ready to get all swole up if necessary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't see that. So, actually, there will just be no attacks here then from Archer. He can play the Nephalia Sea Kite. It's going to get plummeted.
But I'm just saying we could just see it enlarge over the next couple turns.
That's a good point.
So, yeah, here comes the Sea Skate. Says haste.
Oh, he is going to send in everybody, so he's going to offer the trade.
Yeah.
And the plummet is going to take it down, and this is actually going to put Kusakabe in a somewhat better board state. I mean, the pacified Val Driver is still going to be
yeah, with those enlarges
dictating
also,
a lot.
that pacifism on the Battle Driver is a little difficult.
It is. I mean, you're still happy it's there, but... Ooh, Briar Pack Alpha now as well, so he can ambush an attacker here. He can also play a Vastwood Hydra just for 2 as a 2/2.
Right.
But it looks like he wants to leave up Flash. You know, he's had mana problems for the duration of this game here. And Artur certainly is aware of that.
Oh, here comes a hasty Dragon Hatchling.
Yeah, now what is it? So it's going to get +2/+0, and he's got a couple of other red to pump it. So Kusakabe could be taking 4 here. Pretty unfortunate for him that happened to be a flyer.
Yep.
He had that plummet, used it, and unfortunately for him, normally he'd be able to ambush whatever he had drawn with this now 5/5.
So he's going to ambush the 1/1.
Yeah. Because why not? So take 4.
Yep, you're 2, and unless you find an answer for this Dragon Hatchling and my next hasty creature.
Yep. Man, the haste against the enlarge is so nasty, and that's not it.
He draws a Root Walla, it looks like.
Yep. Just a frustrating board state here for Kusakabe as he's got really powerful cards that just seem to match up horribly for what Artur's doing on his side of the board.
This is you're 2. Pump twice.
Yep.
Scoop.
And we're going to get a game 3 here.
Yeah. We're maxing out on our magic.
I do enjoy that. Magic 2014 is available now in Magic Online. Crack some packs for M14 Booster Draft or Sealed Deck queues right now. Starting August 2nd, you can enter 64-player Premier Drafts and Top 8 Sealed Deck events to earn invitations to the Magic 2014 Release Events Championship to be played on August 18th. For more information, visit mtgonline.com. I might or might not partake in many M14 drafts upon arriving home from this trip. I like the set so far. It's been a solid limited set, and I'm curious to explore it further.
My opinion on the set has improved as I've played with it more. I didn't have the greatest time at the pre-release with it, but I think maybe I didn't have a great card pool.
Yeah,
and I tried playing with Rod of Ruin like it was 1994, and it was just
you invested that 7 mana.
It just depressed me. No, I only invested 4 mana. I never had time for the 3. I was like, I remember Rod of Ruin being really good in Sealed. This is just terrible.
I can just see BDM sitting there after dumping 7 mana to do his first damage and just looking
Emphasis
at it like,
on dumping.
really? Yeah. But overall, it's been an interesting format that is, you know, it's still pretty much in its infancy. So
right, I like the fact that there are a couple of little you know, synergies that you can exploit in different decks that you can draft.
The Bog Brew Witch.
Yeah, the Bog Brew Witch or the Angelica Chord Cauldron deck.
Yeah, those build around me uncommons are often some of the best things about it.
Or the enchantment deck, which is a lot of fun, where you're just, you know, -2/-2ing things.
You know, we talked about this yesterday. Had Luis Scott Vargas over at the news desk, and we did a segment where we broke down the limited archetypes. Yeah, and he did a great job. He organized that whole thing, and we went through all of them. It was really interesting.
Which is the one that you were most excited to draft in Magic 2014 after talking to him?
I mean, I'm just going to be honest. So it was blue-black control.
Yeah, obviously.
It was like opportunities and, you know, doing nothing. I mean, I just love doing that stuff, and this deck absolutely exists here. But there were some really cool niche archetypes. Mono Black was one that came up, and another one that we've seen on the floor here for M14 Team Sealed is the black-red sacrifice deck. You know, I mean, when you're opening 12 booster packs and active treason is a common, you're going to get a lot. We saw 3 to 4 in most of these decks.
I got to tell you, the deck that looked so exciting to me. Have you seen the Chinese deck that Bo Lee is playing, where he has Bubbling Cauldron, Tenacious Dead, and Double Dark Prophecy?
So insane. How do you get Double Dark Prophecy in your sealed deck? Was that mono black too?
His deck's mono black. He's got Corrupts. He's got like multiple Quag Sicknesses. Yeah, Double Dark Prophecy.
That's insane.
Like, yeah, I'll sacrifice this Tenacious Dead and lose a life to my Dark Prophecy. Oh, I'm gaining 4.
To my Dark Prophecies?
Yeah, Dark Prophecy. I'll lose 2. Lose 2, gain 4, draw 2 cards.
Oh, man.
Get my Tenacious Dead back.
I think I might board in Millstone against that deck, you know, just try to get him. You get a look at our players here. Yuuya Watanabe on the far right there.
Yeah, what an advantage, you know. Normally someone, again, you know, not a ton of experience for Kusakabe here, but, you know, his you know, he might be looking back on his 3 Grand Prix match losses that, you know, sum up his pro career. You know, but you know, you've basically got one of the, you know, the shortlisted best players in the world.
Right.
You know, someone who's, you know, already got a Hall of Fame resume and is years away from being inducted, from eligibility. You know, sitting there going, "Don't worry, I got you."
Yeah.
What
and that's got to be
feeling.
comforting too for those guys, just to know. I mean, you know, because sometimes you get on in a group environment like that, and it's kind of like, well, who's going to take the lead here? You know.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we've got some keepable hands from our players here. It doesn't look like that is a... Oh, maybe he did keep it. I couldn't quite see. Triple Islands, bunch of red spells, and a Messenger Drake there for Archer.
Is that a hand you would keep?
That's a little sketchy there. There's a Mind Sparker with double red. It's already kind of a mulligan. If he does pick up a red, though, he can play the Dragon Egg. Yeah, Mind Sparker's, you know, it's a really solid little card. 3/2 first strike for 1 double red. But if it's going to come down on turn 7, it's less good.
If it's going to come down on turn 7, that's an optimistic.
Yeah. Whenever opponent casts a white or blue instant or sorcery, it deals 2 damage to that player as well.
So that's probably a sideboard card here.
Certainly playable on its own as a 3/2 first strike for 3 as well. Just does combat nice.
Right.
So both players mulliganed. For those of you just joining, it's the World Magic Cup. Magic 2014 Team Sealed. We have the Japanese national team on the left, Yuuya Watanabe on the far right. You can see he's not playing in this match. He is able to give advice. He's the national champion. On the right, we have Luxembourg. Artur Quiros has forced a game 3 here.
Right. We saw Stephen Hatto defeat Yuuya Watanabe in 3 games.
In a really thrilling one, too. Ooh, I saw a Planeswalker flash in front of my eyes.
Oh, there's
On
a Johnny
Kusakabe's
Color of the
side.
Pride.
That's right.
But
Not a
it is
whole
the
well,
only spell in his hand.
It is. He's got 4 forests, a plains, and an Ajani. So he's not even guaranteed to cast the Ajani on turn 3. And unfortunately for him, he needs to now root to draw another land to do that. And
Right.
that's just not a
Right,
situation you want to be
and
in.
since he wants to draw creatures.
Right, he needs creatures and lands, and those are, you know, I think that when you think about mulligans, those are kind of a few keystone moments where you're like, look, if I'm rooting to, you know, sometimes you keep a landlight hand and you say, well, I just need to draw a land and then my hand's good, right? If you need to draw a land and a creature, that's probably a mulligan.
I have a semi-non-intuitive method I use when I'm
Semi-non-intuitive.
Yeah, semi-non-intuitive. Basically, I look at my hand,
Okay.
and I think about it, and I go, if I don't like draw out of this, will I kick myself and go, I should have mulliganed, right? Am I going to be filled with regret
I
if
like
I
that.
lose with this hand, right?
You just visualize
I'm
the
trying to
little
visualize
future.
the future. And then I usually just keep it anyway.
You just keep it anyway. All right, so this is a critical mulligan, though, going down to 5 here for Team Japan. Kusakabe is going to be looking at his 5.
And again, we talked about that idea of someone having your back. You know that Watanabe's like going, of course you mulligan that.
Right.
And that looks like a keep.
It is a keep, though. It's not an exciting hand with a Vastwood Hydra. And no, that's not the Hydra you're thinking of.
Right, yeah.
As his only creature. All right. Now, is there a 2-drop here?
Yeah, but I think it's Essence Scatter.
Okay, so no actual 2-drop here, and it's unlikely unless Kusakabe draws like a Root Wallet that he's going to cast a creature, and he didn't. Interestingly, he keeps playing Forest from his hand. He doesn't want to play that Plains. Now, if he goes running Plains Ajani, you know, you just have to make sure that you consider that option. I'm not sure what he's representing with triple forest here, but he doesn't have any plays anyway. And Artur Kuros has a pretty stacked hand. No pressure currently, but he's got a lot of removal. He's got an Essence Scatter.
So there is one Howl of the Night pack in Kusakabe's sideboard. So it's conceivable that he brought that in, and that's maybe why he's leaning towards Forest. There's a Reggaeton Firecat.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good pressure play here from Artur Kuros.
I mean, and against green-white, like the only real way they get to deal with that is to trade.
Yeah, now what's likely to happen here is really a bad setup for Kusakabe. So he's going to play the Spider. He might feel some incentive here to not block this first attack and try to get it with the Giant Growth, but there's a big risk, especially as Artur draws and plays that Mountain, because he does have the Chandra's Outrage. Now, if Arthur wants, he can just kill the Spider right now, get in there for 4, and just keep the pressure going too. And that's what he's going to do. That was a big draw step for him, hitting that Mountain.
Yeah, he takes 6 this turn.
6 this turn.
And he knows his opponent just does not have a lot of cards in his hand. You know, you might play that a little differently. You might be willing to just go trade card on the board for card on the board.
Sure.
If you know he has a handful of stuff.
Yeah. Now let's see if this Vastwood Hydra is going to be at full strength, or if he's actually going to telegraph but also leave up the Giant Growth. It might be worth it for him to make a 2/2 Hydra and leave up Giant Growth so that he at least has a chance to eat this Firecat, because otherwise it's just going to trade, and then the Giant Growth gets a lot worse sitting in his hand if he has no creatures on board. The problem with the play, of course, is that he does telegraph it. He says, look, I've got a Giant Growth for sure. So let's see what he wants to do.
Yeah,
he's just going to move in here and just go for the trade-off here.
He
has a lot of creatures in his deck.
Go for the trade-off. He might just take 4 here.
Okay. I mean, he's at 14. It would drop him down to 10. Yeah, you could be right.
4 here, draw a guy, be able to...
Flames of the Firebrand now to just kill
Yep, and
the
now
Hydra.
you're at 10.
Yeah, see, this Reggaeton Firecat is going to do a lot of work. That turn 3 high-powered play when you've got all the tempo. Ooh, good draw here, though, for Kusakabe. He picks up a Root Walla. Now you just don't want to see Time Ebb, that kind of thing. from your opponent.
Frost breath.
Right, because the burn spells aren't very good anymore. Wow, the Essence Scatter we knew he had in his hand, though. He managed to leave the mana up for that. And this has just become a beating here, as Kusakabe, after a mulligan to 5, just can't get any footing. Every creature he's had has been killed. Now he's facing 7 damage on the table as well. He draws a Deadly Recluse, though. That's pretty good stop sign here, especially because he does have the Giant Growth as well. Nephalia
Is he
Sea
going to
Kite.
send in both?
That's the question.
He has to.
He kind of just has
His
to.
opponent's at 10.
Sure. There they go. Both of them into the red zone. And Kusakabe's got to block one and then Giant Growth. It's going to have 5 toughness. This isn't the kind of risk that you want to take on, but at this point he doesn't have a choice. So block the Fire Cat and then Giant Growth. And it works. Take 3 damage. Is Kusakabe at 3 now?
Oh, I think he might be.
Yeah, we might have had a little bit of the delay there, and that could have put him all the way down to 3. But he is actually stable here, as he's going to be able to trade off, and the Nephalia Sea Kite's going to change that dramatically. Is that a shock as well?
That is a shock.
All right, so Arthur Quiros with really a fantastic draw, able to keep huge tempo, huge pressure on his struggling opponent. Shock you.
A little bit of flair there.
Put a little
bit
flair.
of whoop.
And there's a handshake as Luxembourg defeats Japan here in round 2 from the World Magic Cup. I wouldn't have predicted that.
No, I mean, that's always one of the great things about Team World competition is seeing these nations that you don't think about. I mean, I remember a few years ago not thinking about Belgium in 2004 as this, being very surprised to see Belgium on the top 4, which they did there. And, Vincent Lemois and those guys. And, we could be seeing a similar story here from Luxembourg.
That's
Marshall
right.
Sutcliffe, Brian David Marshall. That was pretty exciting. I think we're going to maybe find out a little more about Luxembourg. I think Rashad's going to try to get us
he's
set up
going
with
to
an
get us
interview.
a quick interview down there. But yeah, it is interesting. I mean, it's funny how those positions change, and this is often the entrance, the doorway to get people to actually have that happen, right? I mean, how else do you get a chance to strut your stuff on this level of a stage outside of the World Magic Cup without brute forcing through, a PTQ and then a Pro Tour, and this way. Well, you get to show your stuff here,
right? And it's got to be very encouraging for players from those countries too, which don't have maybe a big pro scene. If you go to a couple Grand Prix and pick up a few pro points, well, you can find yourself in a position to be your national champion. Yeah,
that was interesting. We were having a chat with a gentleman from Macedonia, I think, on the train over, and it is interesting how that works. I mean, you can kind of chain them together.
Yeah.
It's a goal that you can have for sure.
You come here and then you pick up a few points here. You go to you can be perennially a champion in your country. Although I got to tell you, it probably gets a little infectious. They see you doing well, then you're going to drive some of the other people, at your local store to maybe go to the GPs, try a little harder at the PTQs, and then before you know it, some of these countries are ready to step up. I think it sounds like we're going to get a chance to talk to Steve Hatto.
Okay.
From Team Luxembourg.
Who won a squeaker?
Yeah,
versus Yuuya Watanabe.
That was back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, he had to top deck something. Now, to be fair to him, there was a lot of options.
Yeah, I actually think even Celestial Flare would have done it for him because he would have been able to, use it on the attacking creature coming back. So, but let's hear about it from Hatto.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Rashad Miller, and I am here with Steve Hatto and the rest of Team Luxembourg. Now, first, I'm going to admit, I'm not a world scientist or, geography isn't my strongest part. So why don't you tell me a little bit about Luxembourg?
Well, Luxembourg is one of the smaller countries of Europe. We have like 500,000 inhabitants, and we are encircled by the Germans, the French, and the Belgians. Therefore, we speak naturally 3 languages because, well, we have to deal with the neighbors.
Wow, that sounded like a Wikipedia entry. Do you edit Wikipedia?
No, usually not. Only on Sundays.
All right, so I just want to get a brief synopsis of what your team dynamic was as far as building the decks.
Well, we tested Team Sealed as everybody else in advance, and Arthur and myself decided that we specialize on the building so that we could quickly separate the colors and do the choices depending on the archetypes we recognize that are playable. And so we proceeded. So Charles and Yuuya did the listings. They suggested some base colors, and we fine-tuned the decks, so to say.
All right. Well, this is Team Luxembourg, round one win. Round two? Was this round two? Round two winners. I'm Rashad Miller, and I'm going to send it back to the booth for Brian David Marshall Sutcliffe.
Thank you.
I'm a booth scientist. And yeah, so we got to hear a little bit of the perspective from one of the smaller countries represented here.
Yeah, it was great. You know, they looked like they were having fun. You know, and you know, you also got a little bit of an insight into, you know, he said like all the teams here, you know, we practice this. You know,
I wonder if he said like all the teams. You know, I'm wondering if all the teams got a chance to, you know,
I gotta tell you,
bust a bunch of M14.
I had a chance to see a lot of. While Josh Layton was busy playing in the World Championship, we saw the other American teams just building Team Sealed after Team Sealed after Team Sealed. I'm pretty sure they all were.
Yeah, you're probably right. All right, it looks like we're ready to head back over to the news desk for a little bit. After that, we'll come back in here. We're going to have yet more Team Sealed action here from the World Magic Cup. Send it over there for now.
Thanks very much to Marshall Sutcliffe and Brian David Marshall there in the booth, bringing you all the action from Japan against Luxembourg. That is not a match you see every day, and that's the beauty of the World Magic Cup. I've known Steve Hatto for a very long time, one of the stalwarts of the European Grand Prix scene. Fantastic to see his moment in the sun along with the Luxembourg team. Let me give you some results from round two. Now, remember, seeding matters going into day two. Desperately important to get your wins early and often, because tie breaks are about how quickly you get to each plateau of match wins. We think 4 match wins is roundabout where you're going to be looking for top 32. And if you get there quickly, 4-0 or maybe 4-1 in round 5, that puts you ahead of all the people who reach that 4-win mark in round 6 or round 7, ending up at 4-3. So it's all about how quickly you get to the mark. So here are some teams getting to 2-0. Tomasz Pedrakowski leads the Polish team. I think they have a good chance of at least the top 16. They have beaten Indonesia 2-0, and therefore they are 2-0. Team USA, Josh Utter-Leighton, Daniel Cicchetti, in amongst those, Joe Spanier, Jason Gulovic. They have won their second round over Cyprus, led by Daniel Antoniou, the youngest national champion. He's from Cyprus, was 16 years old last year as a national champion, 17 years old. He's back again as their national champion, but it's US who advanced to 2-0. Venezuela, led by Daniel Fior, they've beaten Germany, led by Jonas Kussler, by 2-1. Hungary have defeated Panama. Panama, led by Saul Alvarado, the man who has the most team appearances of anyone on earth. He is here for a 7th time. 7 team appearances for Panama, Saul Alvarado. Congratulations to him. But it's Hungary, Gabor Coxis, Tamas Nag, who lead the way there, 2-0. Croatia are also 2-0. They have a terrific team headlined by Tony Portolan and Guga Petric-Maritic. They've defeated South Africa, who had a good win in their first round. Mexico 2-0 as a result of beating Hannes Karem and Estonia. Karem, top 8 of Worlds 2008 in Memphis. Ireland are 2-0. They've defeated Simon Bertiu's Greece by 2-1. Austria 2-0. Team who are well on a lot of people's shortlists, with Holtzinger and Reitbau leading the way in that one. Colombia, well, they played against El Salvador this round. It was like a South American Championships early. They beat Uruguay last round, but this round it's El Salvador who advanced to 2-0 over the Colombians. New Zealand, Walker McMurdo, Jason Chung amongst their team. They were 2-1 winners over Macedonia. England 2-0 over Ukraine. Well done. Mike Krasnitsky falls to 1-1 with his team. Carrie Oliver, Eduardo Sagicali, Andy Devine and Roy Raftery advance to 2-0. Brazil are 2-0. Willie Adel from the World Championship now leading the Brazilian team. He's in line for a 5-day Worlds Week here if he can get Brazil into the top 8. And still playing a massive matchup early, France against Norway. That's Andreas Nordahl and the Norwegians against Rafael Levy, Stefan Soubrier, Timothée Simoneau, the Grand Prix London winner, and Jan Guzman for France. That's some of the top tables. You've seen Japan fall to 0-2 and a couple of other big results. We have Scotland going to 1-1 against Denmark in an all-European clash. Serbia are off the mark. Puerto Rico, last year's finalists, and a couple of them are back. Gabriel Nieves, Jorge Irimain are back again. They have drawn with Italy, Samuele Estratis and Emanuela Giusti in that one. So that's the way the scoreboard is starting to look up after 2 rounds. Still some results to come in, but I've been joined here at the news desk by Zach Hill. And Zach, we're going to take a look over the next few minutes at some of the main contenders. We can't go through all 71 again, but we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the teams we think you may be seeing right up at the top of the standing. So why don't we start with Australia? Let's take a look at them if we can. In Australia, they are led by Justin Chung. Let's take a good look. Australia, Justin Chung is the champion. There you see, joined by Riley Knight. Lovely guy, came to an England pre-release en route to GP Rimini, Matt Anderson and Sasha Markovic. Last year, Zach, pretty disappointing, 47th place. And you see, Justin Chung already finished 2nd in Worlds. Now, that was in Memphis, and that's not far from you, right? Once upon a time.
That was, in fact, my hometown.
That's what I thought.
I've since moved along. I actually missed out on that Worlds because it was the first year that I was not living in Memphis.
Well, that was
Very
foolish.
Yeah, I know. Hans Karem, who's playing today, also top-aided the individual portion of that event. But Chung is an extremely high-caliber player. I think he's got 3 Grand Prix top 8s.
Yeah, he's
and
a terrific
has experience on this stage, and that's something that really matters for a lot of these players. You know, it's their first time at a big event like this, first time under the coverage lights. Chung's been here before. He knows how this works.
He certainly has. That's going to be a theme of people who've been here before. Let's take a look at Austria next. And Austria, they're doing just fine, thank you, 2-0. Australia also 2-0. There you see. Thomas Holtzinger defeated Paul Rietzel when playing for top 8 a couple of Pro Tours ago. He's their national champion. Manuel Daniger is only 17. He's the real unknown quantity. Mark Mulbach has plenty of experience. And David Reitbauer, an individual Worlds finalist from Rome in 2009. And he was part of that 2007 team that finished 2nd to an incredibly good Swiss winners at New York 2007. I'm going to move straight on to a team that I know you know a lot about, and that is the Belgians. So away you go.
Yeah, I mean, the Belgian team were some of the favorites coming into last year. They had 4 players of veteran PT experience, and they really kind of crashed and burned. This year, Morin won his 2nd WMCQ to join Vincent Lemois, he's been on the Belgian national team several different times. And those guys, you know, formed a powerhouse team just as a nation in the mid-2000s, have fallen slightly off the map. The Magic community there has really kind of, you know, not died away totally, but really shrank from when they were an international force. I know Morin tried to make a Hall of Fame run a little bit this year with 4 PT top 8s. Didn't really get off the ground there, so he is hungry for a big finish to try and put himself back on the radar.
All right, so that's Belgium. Let's take a look now at Brazil. This is led by team captain Willie Adel, who was in action over the last couple of days. You will have seen him in the World Championship itself. He didn't make the Final 4. Alongside him, Carlos Davi Montenegro, Enzo Reala, and Alison Abe, who's a terrific player, been around for a very long time, a real stalwart of that community. You see they made pool play, so that's day 2, 20th place, but they didn't get to the last 16. Adel here on his 3rd team, and they are at 2-0, and I can tell you that they have a great matchup coming your way in round 3. You're going to see them in action in the feature match area. Let's move on to Canada, and Team Canada, well, they're struggling a bit. They are at 0-2. John Stern is the national champion. They got beaten by the Belgians last round. Now, Zach, it seems weird to talk about geography as as a relevant factor in Magic, but the Canadians have a kind of geography story to tell.
Yeah, it's one of the challenges of the way our national tournament structure is set up is that for countries that are just physically big, I don't mean in terms of population, I mean in terms of land mass, the qualifier system can be challenging. If you're in a smaller country, you're drawing your WMCQ pool from the same group of players. You know, different people can play multiple times, and when your national teams get together, they can test. In Canada, you've got 3 players from the Toronto area, and 1 other player.
So that's
Tyler,
the right-hand side.
The right-hand side.
All right.
Tyler out from the left-hand side, which when it comes to just formulating a team dynamic, getting everyone around a table and building sealed pools, you know, it's hard to just fly across the country just to practice from an event that you then have to fly across the world to go to. So that can be a challenge for some of these larger nations.
Yeah, and I think inevitably there's a certain, I mean, you know, you're coming to a country you've not been to before necessarily, certainly a building you've not been to, for a tournament you've not been to before. There has to be an element of feeling familiarity with the people you regularly PTQ with, the people you see at pre-releases, the people maybe you even F&M with.
Well, and one of the things we heard about, to go along with that point, like Ben Stark's talking about, a key element of team play is being familiar with each individual's different play styles and sort of being able to trust them when they talk about the thing they like. You can't do that if you don't know your teammates.
There is a slight difference, talking geographically, between the 3 players who play at F&M together every week, and Ben Stark from Florida, Shuhei Nakamura from Japan, and Martin Yuuya from the Czech Republic. That's an interesting finding 3 ways. But it does show that there are ways to get you all together wherever you are in the world or the country. So that was China. Let's move on and we'll take a look at the defending champions. This is Chinese Taipei. This time around they have Su Qingguo back again as national champion, Ryan Young, Ruxie Wang and Young Min Huang. Now, I think this is a really interesting story because obviously last year they were on what we might call a free roll. Nobody expected them to do fantastically. You know, maybe top 32 they'd have been pleased with. Top 16 would have perhaps been above their expected curve. But as it got closer and closer, did they fold like a pack of wet cards? They did not. And they went all the way to eventually beat Puerto Rico in the final. Different narrative this time, Zach Hill. How big a pressure is it? Su Qingguo is back, but he doesn't have his able lieutenant Hao Shanghuang with him this time. How big a pressure is on Kuo, phenomenal player, to kind of carry relatively inexperienced teammates to try and make a run at defending the crown?
Oh, I think it's tremendous pressure. Not only do you not have Huang, you don't have, you know, the team that won you the World Championships
no
last
Paul
year, the World
Rini,
Magic
he's
Cup.
not back.
But exactly. And Kuo himself has just not had that phenomenal of the year. If you remember around this time last year, he had a lot of momentum going in. He had just locked up Platinum, making the decision to play for it in the final round of Pro Tour Avison restored. You know, while Chinese Taipei wasn't necessarily a juggernaut coming in, Kuo definitely was. But this year has not been as kind to him. But coupled that with the pressure of being the reigning World Magic Cup champions, there's a lot on the line for them today.
All right. Thank you very much to Zach. We're going to leave it there. We brought you 6 teams there. There's plenty more to tell you about. But we have a huge match geared up for round 3, and it is this. At 2-0, you are going to see Team Australia, led by Justin Chung. Riley Knight's the coach for this one, and they are up against the 2-0 team of Brazil. Will Yadel, Alison Abe, and remember, seeding matters. Get to 3-0, get to those 4 wins. If you're at 4-0, that's going to be really close to a guarantee of coming back for pool play tomorrow. Let's hand you down to the booth. It's time once again for Marshall Sutcliffe and Brian David Marshall.